What is Sculk? Without going into endless theorizing, I think it's reasonable to assume that Sculk is some form of dead. The dead, or death. Or something that's dead. I mean, matter can be created out of nothing. There has to be equivalent exchange. Simply put, if Sculk grows from mobs dying, it must be assumed that it's made up of those mobs, at least partially. Which part of the mob is it eating to grow? The process of Sculk forming is much too fast to be metabolic, right? I don't think it's growing by eating the mob and then it's digesting it and then it's reproducing that way, right? I don't think that's what's happening. Every mob seems to allow Sculk to grow, even the undead or slimes. So unless Sculk can transmute any particle into whatever it wants, it's gotta be made up of something that all mobs have in common. Could that be souls? Could it be that Sculk and the Warden is made out of souls? I mean, there's also souls in the Warden's chest. Sculk is also blue. I don't know if that's a huge indicator. There's definitely also bones growing in Sculk and bones in the Warden's design as well. It's unclear if those bones are grown from Sculk, like you know, Sculk being a mechanism just like my body. My body grew bones, I guess, right? So I don't know if those bones are grown from Sculk or if they are repurposed bones, like literally the bones of mobs sticking out. But I think it's fairly reasonable to assume that there's souls involved, at least in the creation of Sculk. There's also the soul lanterns in ancient cities. I mean, that's not definite proof. It could be, you know, someone built those cities. That wasn't the Warden building those, I don't think. So soul lanterns in the ancient city, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that Sculk is connected to souls, but, you know, I think there's plenty of evidence otherwise. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that Sculk is somewhat made of souls. So if Sculk is made of souls, what's the Warden made of? Other than being a 3-block tall boy who spawned at your choice, he has nightmarish teeth and clawed paws, and he can't endure noise. What else is he? Is he a conscious manifestation of the Sculk? Like, is all of Sculk kind of like a hive mind, and then the hive mind, instead of creating another block of Sculk, it creates a walking thing out of Sculk, right? Because the Warden is made of Sculk, clearly. Or is the Warden more like a separate entity that has a consciousness of its own, that just walks around in the Sculk, and it looks like Sculk? I mean, at that point, it could just be Iron Golem as well, right? It's a big mob, makes sense, and it's just covered in Sculk, so it could be anything at that point. So the Warden being also at least partially made out of souls, I pose the question, what if Sculk got into the Nether? And I guess to start answering that question, we gotta ask ourselves, how did it get there? And to me, that answer is obvious. In fact, it's so obvious that after having made this video, I don't even think that Sculk belongs in the overworld anymore. It belongs in the Nether, for sure, but we'll get to that. So the how? It's easy. Enderman, right? Sculk spreads itself as any evolutionary organism desires, and Enderman already spread pests, right? Like, that's what Endermites are. The Endermites were coded into the game just to signal that Enderman traveled to another plane of existence, because this is canon. This is some like crazy unwritten canon. It's not like in the game anywhere, and it's kind of old canon, so maybe it's dated now. Maybe Mojang has another vision now, but I'm keeping this headcanon for now. Is that Enderman, when they teleport, they don't actually teleport. They don't vanish from one spot and then they do that. I mean, that's what we see, right? But in reality, apparently what is happening is that the Enderman is blinking out of existence, going into another plane of existence, supposedly a mirror dimension of our plane of existence. It travels around there, it walks, or maybe it probably flies. It must have an ethereal form in that plane of existence, otherwise, you know, you can't teleport up top. Up high, right? So yeah, it does its thing. It relocates in that plane of existence, and then it pops back into our plane of existence. And then time-space works differently, I guess, in these planes. So it appears as teleportation. And that's where Endermites come from. Endermites come from this other plane of existence. And when an Enderman teleports, rarely they can spawn, because, I don't know, they could just get latched onto the legs or something, right? They go along for the ride, little hitchhiker. And if that happens, I mean, they coded an entire mob, an entire entity to explain that mechanism. Then why could Sculk not do the same? Being a surviving organism that it seemingly is. There must also not be rain in this other plane of existence, right? I mean, logically, because otherwise an Enderman would never teleport into another spot into rain, right? They do that. They teleport away from rain and then they just teleport somewhere else, also in the rain. So this other plane of existence, pretty interesting stuff. I also like to think that maybe phantoms and vexes are from there, right? And they just get like kind of brought into this world for evil purposes. There's also gotta be restrictions for how long you can stay in the other plane of existence. Otherwise, an Enderman would just wait out a rainstorm in that plane, right? You don't see that happening. Either way, yeah, that's the theory, pretty much, right? Sculk just did the same, hitchhiked along with an Enderman. Why not? I mean, it's a pest, right? And I mean, I feel like it also explains why there isn't Sculk in the end, because Enderman that's their home, right? They would clean it out, right? And maybe they don't care as much about Sculk in the overworld. They know they can't control it, you know, maybe they just kind of shrug. I have no idea. They clearly don't care. They don't pick up Sculk canonically. That's not within the list of blocks Enderman can pick up. But I think that only speaks to the theory because they don't want to pick it up, right? Well, if it happens, Sculk in the Nether, it happens accidentally, right? So that's how it gets there. And the Minecraft world being infinite, it's very likely that Sculk then evolved from that point onwards, specific to the Nether biome, right? I mean, if you think about it, it just makes a lot of sense because it's also a different set of souls. Tortured souls, no? I mean, I don't know what type of souls are exactly in the Nether, but they must differ. At least the creatures differ, right? So whatever the Sculk is collecting from the dead mobs to create itself, it must be different, right? Like I said, unless Sculk is this godlike creature that can just molecularly change something just 100%, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think logically it should be in the Nether. It will always end up in the Nether. There's no scenario where it doesn't end up in the Nether. I think it's super logical. And then obviously on top of that, once we've made that leap, thematically, obviously, it fits in the Nether a lot too with the Soul Sand Valley, right? Ultimately, I understand why they added Sculk to the overworld. It makes the overworld a lot more interesting. I think it's a lot better for the game overall, right? To have the one dimension that we spend the most time in. Also have this element of like, what the fuck is happening? You know, I shouldn't be here. I cannot even control the enemies here. It's a very powerful thing to have Sculk in the overworld. But also, why not in the Nether? I think it just makes sense. Sculk and the Warden are both already fireproof, so there's nothing Sculk wouldn't survive if it ended up in the Nether. It would just slowly consume and collect souls there. You could even make an argument that it would spread faster in the Nether, right? And it's not like I'm complaining. I make a data pack with my buddy Cyclops, and we could probably add this biome ourselves if we wanted to, if people mess with this idea. But I think it's interesting to talk about. So let's think about it. How would Sculk differ if it evolved in the Nether? The same way that you know, you have pigs and you have piglins, right? That's kind of like the same evolutionary, you know, like there's like an evolutionary chart thing going on, right? Where these mobs are like kind of connected. I figured that a Warden made up of souls from the Nether would also look pretty different. And that's what this is. I call it the Keeper of the Gate. It's a completely new model, new texture made by me. It's about the same size as a regular Warden still, and he walks around all goofy, like kind of like waiting for something to make noise and then aggressively attack it. Like that skeleton over there, he's about to get it probably. This is my answer to what happens if Sculk got into the Nether. I mean, it would look something like this, pretty evil. It would change quite a bit. Like, I'm not even sure if the default Warden would be able to fight this guy. If this guy can do a sonic boom too, as you can see, he can still do a sonic blast. So if they were to fight, I mean, I can make him fly in the resource pack, which is what this is. But he has wings, so yeah, just imagine him flying, I guess. And at that point, I don't think the overworld Warden can take this guy. Like, this guy is a beast. Entirely made of Sculk, keeping up with the default Warden's palette. Instead of the Warden's tendrils, he has this cute little mohawk that actually animates when he gets hit by a sound. There you go, you just saw it. It's like it wiggles. And the tendrils kind of go into his skull. And I really like the design that I did for the skull. Like, the entire thing, I really love this model. I'm really happy with this guy. But yeah, this is what happens if Sculk collects souls from the Nether. There's a bit of corruption going on. He's about to wreck this. There you go. Rip. Bye. Obviously, I gave him the golden cuffs. This is 1000% inspired by Disney's Aladdin. The OG one. I mean, I guess the modern one has them as well. But just like the idea of like, you know, a beast. This guy resides in Sculk, and the genie resides in a lamp, I guess. That just has these cuffs that represent that it's tied to the place or something. I don't know. Obviously, I wanted to introduce gold into its design because it's the Nether. I mean, it also kind of makes sense, maybe, because if it collects the mobs from the Nether, I mean, the Nether is the only place where you can get infinitely replenishable gold, right? So it would get more gold in the Nether than in the overworld. So a lot of justification for why it has golden cuffs. I mean, gold is also a magical material in Minecraft, right? It has some magical properties. He obviously has a very demonic theme going on. I mean, it fits the Nether. And that's another tie-in for the theme of gold, because, you know, it could be seen as greed, right? Gold, having golden accessories like this. I mean, they're pretty simple cuffs. I wanted them to be interpretable as just like magical cuffs. Maybe they're shaped by the Sculk. I mean, I guess you can fill in the blanks there. And yeah, I mean, just demonic inspired. He has the skull for a head, which is just, I mean, that's just a cool look. It's just a metal look, but there's also concept art wardens that have a skull for a head, so it's also a canon take. And he has little tentacles coming out of his eyes too, if you can see that little design detail. Horns, wings, and the spiky tail. Very demonic, just pop culture demon, maybe like Dante's Inferno painting, right? Like wherever this demon came from, maybe Tenacious D, whatever popularized this look for a demon, you know, the wings and the horns and the pointy tail. That's kind of what this is supposed to invoke. And on top of that, the skull is inspired by a warthog's skull. You know, I was just googling around, and you know, obviously pig inspired, you know, a lot of pig souls. I mean, that's the main soul you're gonna get in the Nether anyways, right? Because even the skeletons with my texture pack anyways have a chance of having a pig skull like these guys. So yeah, a lot of pig souls. Why would this guy not be a little bit pig inspired? So I thought a warthog skull would fit him well, and it does. It turned out really cool. I love this guy. The keeper of the gate could be a synonym for warden, right? Keeper of the gate, and also the gates of hell. I hope it kind of invokes that concept as well. That's fun. So basically that's it. A new warden model in my resource pack, barely default. And this is on my SMP, where we use the barely default data pack that I make with Cyclops. You should also check him out. He's doing great stuff. We might do a biome like this. What do you guys think? I mean, I just built this. Right, I just built by hand. But what do you guys think? I mean, if people watching this are excited about the barely default data pack, we could add a biome like this. And this would also be part of like my vision for, you know, Sculk getting into the Nether. You know, this is what it would kind of like look like. There could be these structures made out of basalt and blackstone, you know, kind of similar to a bastion. There's Nether equivalent of ancient cities. There's even some suspicious gravel here, which I thought was a nice fit because there is gravel in the Nether. So why not have some suspicious gravel here, right? Introduce archaeology a little bit. It would also fit this decrepit structure a lot, I think. Gold as a reward, some generic chest loot, stuff you'd expect. Netherite scraps, just nice to get. Sculk, you know, basically just a mix of ancient city loot and Nether loot, right? I mean, you get it. Little structures dotted around like this. I think that would get the point across nicely already. Oh yeah, as a bonus for my pack, I also made a custom ghast. So this is what I made ghast look like if they spawn in a Sculk biome. And he just has a kind of a blue hue to him, kind of as if he is the soul. Oh, now he's definitely a soul. Now he's dead. Now he's just a tear. Okay, well, I mean, nice shot either way. And I've also made custom textures for the Ziglins that spawn here. And the Zoglins, which don't ever spawn here. Basically, just the same as the Ziglins that were already in my pack, but just with blue Sculk. And I thought maybe it makes sense because Sculk would try to take over the virus in the area. Maybe, right? You know, this is a fellow virus. And in my opinion, if we gave this guy drops, I think that would be fine. You probably know that the Warden intentionally in Minecraft doesn't have drops because you're not supposed to kill it. Well, okay, it drops a Sculk catalyst. For whatever reason, they did still add that as a drop. But you are not supposed to kill it, right? You're supposed to sneak by it. And this biome doesn't really make sense if you don't also have chests of loot, like a reason to sneak around. Otherwise, why even go here? Maybe it could be a fun dynamic if occasionally there was ancient debris hidden under the Sculk, like more often than usually in the Nether. I don't really know what the sense in that is, but at least it's called ancient debris, right? And there's ancient cities, so that's a bit of a connection. At least it would help make the biome worth it. You'd still want to sneak around the keeper of the gate, right? But I still think we could make him drop something, just because the Nether is a more brutal place. If you want to kill him, get a reward. Fun. I haven't really thought it through. Obviously, I thought he could drop gold as a reward. It's kind of lame. I don't know. I haven't thought of a drop. So if you have any ideas, just comment below, right? If we add this whole ass biome eventually to the data pack, then you know, we might as well give him a cool drop. But I haven't thought of anything, so let me know. And I guess that's it. Just really wanted to show off my model, and I had so much lore for it that I thought it deserved to be video. And now you've watched the entire video, so I hope it was fun. Get my resource pack, barely default. For now, this will just be the look of all wardens, just from a spawn deck, right? Just all wardens in the Nether will look like this. And like I said, follow Cyclops for updates on the barely default data pack, because this could be a reality, right? If we commit to it. If people are interested in this, maybe you think this is a really dumb theory. It ruins other existing lore. Like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't thought it through, right? Let me know, I guess. All right. Subscribe to the channel. It's really important that you subscribe, right? I'm trying to grow the channel. Tell your friends about my videos, about my resource pack. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. My name is Mickey Joe, if you didn't catch it. Kind of late at the end of the video. All right. Bye.